Right, I'm Richard. As Emma said, I'm going to tell you the story today about Moo and how we started and how we've grown as a business. Plenty of the mistakes that we've made along the way, and perhaps some of the things that we've learned as a company. I'm just going to pop these up a little bit. So, starting at the beginning, I founded Moo, as Emma said, in 2004 when I was 26. I had absolutely no experience at all. I'd never raised money before to start a company, or started a company indeed. I got my first £150,000 off my dad's business partner's neighbour's friend. So a kind of interesting connection to get my first cash in the bank. I knew nothing about the industry that I was entering into. I didn't have a network at all. However, I had a good idea, a passion to turn it into a business. And I think that passion and that drive trumps experience sort of every day of the week and twice on Sundays. The bad news was it was a terrible failure. By 2005, just a year, 18 months or so later, it was a bit of a disaster. The idea was to create a business card for the 21st century. My first failure was probably naming the company. It wasn't always called Moo. The original name for the business was, and a little piece of me dies when I say this out loud, some of you might know, the original name of the company was Pleasure Cards, which depending on what business industry you're trading in, it could be a great name, but wasn't so good as far as my customers were concerned. They didn't really get it. We had no meaningful traction. We were probably doing 2 orders a day back then as Pleasure Cards. The software was totally broken. It was built by an agency, and I didn't really have the money to fix it. And really, by the end of 2005, we were more or less out of time and out of money. We probably had 20 grand or so left. The rest went on my credit card. But by 2006, we had this sort of feeling of, let's say, positivity. I think as an entrepreneur, you learn to be extremely positive about more or less everything. And I looked for the things that were working in the business. People did love the cards. They hated my stupid website name and my stupid website. But they did really like the cards, and they're still obviously very popular today. And I managed to convince the small team of people to come and work for free for me, and we'll talk a bit about them shortly. We flipped the model and decided to change essentially how the business worked. We signed up a partner in Scotland called WeWorld, because you made these wee little avatars, and we convinced them to work with us, enable their customers to put their little avatars on the cards. And amazingly managed to raise about £2.75 million on the back of this new business plan to build out the company properly and to launch it. Managed to get on board 2 fantastic investors who joined. And then we can magically fast forward 5 years to today. And the company has changed, I think, significantly over that time. We're going to talk a bit about what we've done. Moo today is 85 people based in offices in the UK and in the US. From our tiny little single silly cards, we now have manufacturing, vertically integrated manufacturing, design, development in both locations, US and UK. We print millions and millions of cards a month. We're one of the fastest growing printers of business cards on the planet. And we have hundreds of thousands of customers in about 180 different countries today. As Emma said, about 70% of our revenue is non-UK. The business is profitable and tens of millions of pounds in annual revenue. Our silly little pleasure cards, as they were once called, we've printed quite a few of them. CNET called them the Web 2.0 secret handshake, which I'm still trying to figure out what that means, but it sounds cool. And along the way, we've been helped by some amazing customers. I guess our product is kind of a canvas for the creativity of the people that buy with us. And we're very lucky to have so many interesting people who buy from us and who promote us as a business. We've got a lot of nice press along the way, thanks to our customers more than anything else. And for me personally, I got in the Financial Times, my parents are very proud about. And they called me a cult figure, which I thought was brilliant. So I guess the kind of the meat on the bones of stuff I'd like to talk to you guys about today is how we do things, the challenges that we faced, the decisions that we made, and really the steps that we took to turn Pleasure Cards, a failing business trading in the UK really only, into Moo, which is still a small company but a very, very fast growing company, and the things that we've learned along the way. The first thing, the most important thing is all really about people. I think Pleasure Cards was a fantastic testament to how one person, managed to get it extremely wrong, and how, as Moo, we've managed to hire great people and to grow a great business as a result. And, it all really starts with your employees. And for us, they really are our business. They're everything to us. I think probably before I started the company, I thought HR was sort of a dirty word. It was, in the past company that I'd worked for, it was kind of this department that was hidden away in the basement. No one really knew what they did. But recruitment and retention of talent is absolutely key for us as a business. I think the second part of HR is really around culture, and it's my company as a founder of a business. I can create whichever kind of company I like. So I wanted to create a company that I wanted to work for and in. I'm very proud of the business that we've built. One of the things we did very early on was we hired an HR manager in our first year. She actually joined us as a data analyst, I think, and then became our HR person. And she was really more responsible for culture in the business than she was for things like appraisals and all of the boring things you have to do. Another thing that we did is we made every full-time employee a shareholder in the business. So if the company was ever to go public or to be sold, the people that have worked hard over the years will share in the value that they've helped create within the business. And probably the third thing is we've always tried to make the environment really nice. I could probably give a whole presentation on the offices that we've been in the last 7 years. We've moved 7 times in 7 years because we've grown so quickly, and we're in 15,000 square feet now in Shoreditch, and we're almost already outgrown that space. We've only been there for about 6 months. So a big challenge, but the environment that we work in has always been absolutely key to creating a great culture and a company that people want to work for and work in. This is the first of a few stories. This is the team in 2008. This is the Moo crew. This is when they turned up dressed as me on my birthday. I used to wear a lot of black shirts and black jackets, and you can see this is a kind of an outfit, right, that was very open to mockery, obviously. But it gives you an idea of kind of the culture that we built within the business. And it's incredibly important to us, culture. It's probably, we regard it higher than experience and background of the people that work within the business. We're always looking for nice people. It's kind of a strange thing. We used to have a recruiting document where we absolutely insisted on making sure that people were as nice as well as qualified and experienced. I'm going to swear now, but my favourite quote on recruitment, and we use it a lot internally, is it's better to have a hole in your team than an arsehole in your team. And I think you can look for the best possible people out there, but if you can't work with them, it's completely useless. And talking of great people, this is Bahana. Bahana is from Eritrea. He was my second employee. He was the first person I actually employed in the business. He moved to the UK about 20 years ago, and he speaks with a very, very thick Eritrean accent. When I interviewed him, I could hardly understand a word that he said. He's not your kind of usual Shoreditch developer, skinny jeans and cappuccino types. But when I interviewed him, I'd interviewed 5 or 6 people that day, and the website that the agency had built for me was written in a language called Delphi, which is a weird language to write anything in. I think Bahana had learned it working on oil rig software or something. He'd been in some other industry before. And I could hardly understand a word that he said in the interview, but he said, "Delphi is a beautiful language." I remember him saying that so distinctly in the interview. I was like, I've got to hire this guy. He was completely unconventional. He didn't fit the mold of the type of person that you're supposed to hire. But he actually came and worked for free for about 6 months and transformed our business. We wouldn't be where we are today without him. But I think looking for unconventional people was key for Moo. Here was the next one, and he slipped off screen. I don't know why, but that's wearing his Mickey Mouse ears at our Christmas party. This is Steph. Well, this is Steph's head and ears. Another person my dad introduced me to. I don't know how my dad gets such credit for introducing me to all these people and getting me money and everything, but my dad works in the property industry and he's not an entrepreneur. But my dad introduced me and said, I met this guy the other day. He was really geeky. You should meet him. Anyway, Steph joined. He also worked for free for 6 months before we actually raised our proper round of venture capital. An unconventional intro, unconventional guy. what Steph brought was loads of startup experience. So I'd never done this before. I was 26 when I started it, and Steph had been through, you know, the grinder in many different startups, and having him in the team was incredible when it came to all the challenges that we faced in the early days. Having someone in the room who'd kind of been through this experience before was absolutely critical to us. Here's another one. That's Brian. We have photos of all the people in the office, and we have lots of whiteboard walls, so everyone has to draw something that, you know, some experience in their life. Brian spends half his life flying between Boston and London, so he's drawn a little picture with the Houses of Parliament on the background on it. He was employee number 7. I imported Brian from California. He was my first international hire in the business, and we've gone on to hire probably 20% of Moo employees are from different countries. We've hired a lot around Europe as well as the US. And it kind of showed me that you can hire people from anywhere nowadays. London is an amazing city to lure people into from abroad. Americans get fascinated with London. They love it. And who wouldn't? Amazing. He was also the first sort of expert in his field that I'd hired. He'd been working in the print industry for about 5 years beforehand. And again, when things got tough, Brian actually was originally a commercial fisherman. You know, have you seen like Deadliest Catch? That's what Brian used to do. If you hire an operations person, you want someone who's been a commercial fisherman. Absolutely unbelievable. When the shit hits the fan, Brian is there, you know, kind of pulling the fishing line onto the boat and helping you out. So he's since moved back to the US. He was about 3 years in London with us, and really kind of got into the culture of the business, so that when we opened our US office, he could kind of explain what we were all about. And our US office is very, very similar to our UK office in the people that we hire and the culture there. So that was an incredibly important sort of facet.